Morning, guys. Welcome to the current affairs session where I'll be discussing all of the important topics that are necessary for UPSC, be it prelims or mains. Right. Today we'll be discussing 13th July's paper. Right. July 13th. Iran's attacks have been increased, and even Russia has started to attack Ukraine again. And the amount of wars that are happening around the globe are actually intensifying a lot. So in this time, actually, India has to be very careful, especially with all the oil problems that are going around India. Right. Start it. So the first thing that we are going to discuss today is the editorial. It's talking about how 5 crore Indians wait when the courts take a leave, take a break. What does that actually mean? It's clearly saying that many people are actually waiting for justice and uh, the things to be happen in their favor, or something to be happening in fair nature. So while everyone is waiting for that, all the judges are taking a leave, right? That is what it's saying, right? Based on this, there is huge amount of stars that they're given, right? The amount of stars that they're given are, firstly, there is nearly 4.76 crore, right? There's nearly 4.76 crore cases pending in the district courts. Imagine the amount of delay that is going to happen with 4.76 crores, and many people are actually taking vacations, right? That is the amount of delays in district courts. And then you have high courts where there are 63.6 lakh cases, right? 63.6 lakh cases. And lastly, we have Supreme Court, where you have nearly 92,000 cases. This is the amount of pendency that is present in the courts currently, right? Nearly 4.76 crore cases that are pending in the district courts, 63.6 lakh cases pending in the high courts, and 92,000 plus cases pending in the Supreme Court. With high amount of pendency, all the judges are taking what? All the judges are taking a lot of vacations. Now, what are the repercussions of these vacations, right? The first thing is that out of all the cases, nearly 75%, right? 75% of the prisoners are under trials. What does that mean? That means that all of these people have been under trial for a long period. They have not been convicted, right? They have not been convicted, meaning that that particular person who has been arrested has been in jail just because the court hasn't taken care of that case. It's not that they have been convicted of a crime. They have been in the particular jail just because there is a high amount of delay. Imagine the amount of turmoil or pain on that particular person who knows that they did not commit crime and they were in the jail just because of a judicial delay. Right? There is high amount of risk there. Right? 75% of the people are under trials, and the judicial or the courts only function for 190 days. 190 days a year. 190 days a year is a very small number for a very large institution or a very important organization such as judiciary. Functioning only 190 days a year is actually very troublesome, because what are the three organs of India? The three organs are executive, legislature, and judiciary. So the judiciary has to function, the legislative has to function, and the executive has to function. Even one particular organ not working properly, meaning that the Indian system is failed. So we have judiciary only working 190 days a year, meaning that the other 165 days it is on vacations. That is the reason there is high amount of pendency. 4.76 crore is not small. 92,000 is not small. 63.6 lakhs is not small. They take high amount of time because each and every case is not of the same amount of gravity. One case might be small, one case might be very big. Or you never know, there might be another Keshavananda Bharati case in that particular what you call 63 lakh, 63.6 lakh cases. You never know. But these are the things that are being let go. And according to the previous government, it is saying that if the cases being disposed, cases that are there currently are being disposed at this particular rate, it would nearly take us 300 years. Right? It would nearly take us 300 years for them to get complete justice. 300 years. 300 years for justice. I mean, that is actually very troublesome when it comes to judicial, right? It should not take 300 years at all. I understand that it should not be swift, right? It should not be very fast, because justice is something that is fast is not fair, and something that is delayed is not justice at all. So what you need to understand is 300 years is a very high number. 300 years people have to wait for them to get a fair and equitable trial. So those are the things that this particular editor is talking about. But while it is saying that these are the repercussions where it will take 300 years and nearly 75% people are under trials, there are also some what you call justifications and criticisms. Justifications and criticisms on why they are taking those leaves. The first thing is that many people, let's look at the criticisms, right? First thing is that many people will get delayed justice. Obviously, as I told you just now, it takes 300 years for a person to actually get justice. If we actually go at this current rate, meaning that for at this 4.76 crore, 63.6 lakhs, and 92,000 plus cases, if you go at the same pace of getting justice, then it will nearly take 300 years. Meaning that many people who are actually very poor, let's say a poor person is there and they have what you call, they have to pay the lawyer, and each time the lawyer goes to court, they pay 10,000 or 15,000. If the court is prolonged for 10 years, 20 years, how much money will they be paying? Right? Isn't it too much? And they have to pay a lot of money, and they keep on paying, and they do not have money, they're not getting justice. What is the use of all the amount that they're paying? Right? That is the first thing. And the second thing is, this is a colonial legacy. Right? Going on long leaves is a colonial legacy where the Britishers actually escaped the summer cases. That is why it is only 190 days a year, not 165 days, meaning the 356 days. Right? It's only 190 days, and that is a colonial legacy where the Britishers wanted to escape the summer. That is why there is high amount of vacations. These are the two criticisms that are there. But when it comes to justifications, the first thing is that the amount of load that the judges carry is very high. They have to think much, because one particular decision can change a person's life. So they have to read every aspect, read each and every minute detail. Only when they've done that, that is when they can give a particular judgment. They cannot give a judgment just by looking at facts. They have to analyze the facts. They have to put in the thought, they have to put in the bias, they have to remove the bias. All of these things are there where they have to arrive at one decision. And that decision keeps actually an extremely high load. So the thing is that firstly, they carry extremely high loads. The second thing is that while we are seeing that they are taking vacations and all of these, that doesn't mean that they are actually enjoying. Most of the times, whenever a judge is taking a vacation, that means they are actually working on the cases. Right? Many times they are working on the reserve judgment, or working on the legal issues or the new issues that have arisen in that particular case, or reading about that particular case, right? Or maybe they are recovering from a prolonged judgment. So these are the things why they need vacation. Obviously, even they are humans, and when they have particular rights, in order to work efficiently, they need breaks out, obviously. So that is why vacations are also actually important. But thing is, what is happening? What is happening? Firstly, there is high amount of delay. Secondly, there is high amount of vacancies. There are many people in pre-trials. Right? There is no particular management of all the cases. These are the main problems that are there. Right? And how will you solve these problems? The only way you will solve these problems is by firstly staggering the leaves. What does staggering the leaves mean? It means that instead of everyone taking leaves in one particular time, why not take leaves on a rotational basis, so that at every point of time there is someone at the bench. Okay, that will actually be helpful, because this is the same thing that doctors follow, that the civil servants follow. These are the things that they follow. Only when these kind of, because doctors are important, civil services are important, all of these are important, right? Similarly, even judiciary is important. So in order to keep a constant functioning judiciary, right, in order to keep constantly functioning judiciary, you need to stagger the leaves and put it on a rotational basis, right? Only when you put it on a rotational basis it will be helpful, and the courts will be functioning throughout the year. Okay, the second thing is obviously to fill the vacancies. When the cases are very high, right? 4.76 crore cases, 63.6 lakh, and 92,000 cases are there, right? When or many of the cases are there, are we in a position, or do we have the amount of staff that is capable of handling the load of cases? That is what we have to think. So when there's not there, obviously we have to fill the vacancies. Until unless you fill the vacancies, nothing will happen, right? And the third thing is that obviously you need to use retired judges properly. We have articles 127, 128, where you can use the retired judges and the high court judges, so that you can fill the Supreme Court cases or the high court cases. These are the things that you can actually use, right? Only when you use all of these, then there will be proper management of cases, right? And the fifth thing is you have to strengthen the alternative dispute resolution, because many of the cases that are actually there, they can be solved in a proper manner. Let's say there is a dispute, that is a family dispute. For a small family dispute, they are going to high courts and Supreme Courts, which can be resolved through other methods like alternative dispute resolution. You can use family courts, you can use mediation, you can use all of these things, right? When you can use all of the alternative dispute resolution methods, that would actually reduce the burden. We are seeing that 4.76 crore district courts are cases are there in district courts, but are these cases with the same gravity or same amount of what you call heaviness of the case that are handled by district courts? No, they're very light in nature. They can be handled by alternative dispute resolution. If you actually reduce that, the amount of 4.76 crores might go to 1 crore. Who knows, right? That is why you need to strengthen the alternative dispute resolution, right? Those are all the things that are actually given in this particular editorial. Now let us look at a mains question that I actually thought about, right? Uh, let's see. Discuss the causes of judicial delay. Discuss the causes of judicial delay and suggest reforms for speedy justice, right? There's again a 10 marker. Obviously I would be giving 10 markers. I wouldn't give you 15 markers, so that it will actually be burdening. So 10 marker is the question that I've been given. So I'll discuss this particular answer and format at the end of this particular newspaper analysis. Okay. So without any further delay, let's go back to the newspaper. Okay. Next we have India's energy imports from Russia seem driven by confusion and not strategy. So what happened is that recently India had imported nearly 40% of its import needs. Right? Let's say India imports 90%, right? 90% of its crude oil, right? And of this 90%, 40% it has imported from Russia. Right? It has imported from Russia. Now, is this particular decision valid or a strategic nature, is what this particular editor is talking about, because the author thinks that this particular thing that they're doing is not viable. It might be commercially viable, it might be commercially viable, but when it comes to what you call risk, it is very high. Now, why is it very high in risk? First thing is that it is depending heavily on Russia. right? The first thing why we face issues when it comes to crude oil is because we depend on one particular country or one particular way for crude oil. If you remember, we import majority of the crude oil from the Strait of Hormuz. So when a war happened between USA, Israel, and Iran, what happened? They blocked the Strait of Hormuz, and we had to suffer. And the petroleum reserves that we had were very low. As we had very less petroleum reserves, what happened? We had to go and ask from other countries and also invent, or not invent, introduce E20 oil and E20 fuel we had to introduce. Because of this, we are suffering a lot. While the government is saying that there is 3 to 5% efficiency drop, but it is not only 3 to 5% efficiency, but all of the vehicles that are not even capable of handling E20 are getting spoiled. Right. So the first thing is that we are depending too much on Russia. The second thing is that while we are depending on Russia, we also have this particular thing where the what do you call sanctions, right? The sanctions that are put. The first reason why Russia obviously sold all of its oil at low price because all of the because of the Russia-Ukraine war, right? As it was going on in a war, all the Western countries or the European countries saw and that they put a secondary sanction. Similarly, while India is actually taking Russian oil, what if another country like USA, which actually wants Russia to be out of the market, put sanction on us? What if it puts sanction on us? Then we have to bear the brunt of USA and also the higher cost prices given by Russia. So that is another thing that is actually very troublesome, right? And the third thing is that we are spending some of the oil imports, right? Right. We are importing majority from Russia, right? And part of it is being paid through yuan. Yuan is the currency of which country? It is a currency of China. Then who is getting benefited at the end of the day? It is China, because we are increasing the demand of Chinese currency. As we are increasing the demand of Chinese currency, who will get more influence? Obviously, it is China. China will get more influence and will have more ability to control global events. And the last thing is Russian oil is not cheap anymore. It is not cheap anymore. Previously, during the Russia-Ukraine war, Western countries put sanctions. As Western countries put sanctions, it had no other possibility or no other person to buy the particular oil that it's selling. So it had given major discounts. Only when it has given major discounts, we started buying oil from Russia. Now it does not have any sanctions, or it has increased the prices of oil. Still, we are buying it, meaning that we are actually increasing our import bill. There's no particular benefit that we are having. If it was at a discount, then it would have been better. But there is no discount now. It is high oil prices, right? That is why these are the four issues that we are facing if we buy majorly from Russia, right? And what do we need to do? Obviously, we have to do the opposite of what everything is given. Firstly, we have to diversify. We have to diversify our needs. Only when we diversify our needs, then we will be at very low risk. As long as we are dependent on one particular country, our risk is very high. So we have to diversify. Second thing is that we have to increase our strategic reserves. We shouldn't go in a panic mode whenever there's a global event that is happening. Whenever there's a war that is going on, whenever there's a particular sanction being given, we should not go into panic. We go into panic and we make decisions like E20. Now it is E20. Maybe after another global event, it might go to E40. At the end of the day, who's suffering? It is not the state, it is the people who are in the state. Right? So the thing is, we have to diversify firstly, and secondly, increase the strategic reserves, and thirdly, ensure that we are spending more on research rather than only on imports. Right? The more you research, the more you know, right? The more you find out when you research. So we have to ensure that we are researching more and ensuring that we are in a better position rather than being in a control position. So these are the three things that are actually necessary for us to do when we are importing highly from countries like Russia. You have to be divergent. Only when we are divergent, then we will be in a position to handle everything, right? And that is all about this particular article. Then you have this insular incentive. Ethanol blended fuel should not be forced on consumers irrationally. Obviously, even I believe that they are actually forcing ethanol onto the consumers. But why are they forcing ethanol on the consumers when the global crude oil prices are very low? Right? We are actually using E20. We are using E20 despite the crude oil prices being very low. Now, what is the government justifying? The government is saying that the efficiency has only reduced by 3 to 5%, and many of the cars or vehicles are actually performing better. That is what the government is saying, and the main thing that actually government is backing is that it is helping the farmers. Right? By producing ethanol, it is helping the farmers. Is what the government is saying. Now, let us look at what are the stats and what is happening actually. The first thing that is happening is we are using ethanol, right? We are using ethanol, and this ethanol is mainly produced from sugarcane. Right? The ethanol that we are using is mainly produced from sugarcane. And what is sugarcane? Sugarcane is highly a water-intensive crop, meaning that we are using sugarcane, which is using a lot of water, right? A lot of water it is using, and that we are using to create fuel. What does that show? That we are wasting a lot of water. We are wasting a lot of water just to create a small amount of fuel that is actually creating an inconvenience for the people. So there's no positive here. There's only negative because we are wasting water. We are also reducing the trust in people. Okay, so that is the first thing. And second thing is that majority of the sugarcane that is being procured is from water scarce countries, water scarce states, like Maharashtra. Right, this is where we are procuring the sugarcane from, right? And then they are saying that it is helping the farmers, but it is not the farmers who are actually getting the benefit. It is the consumers who are actually paying a lot. The chain of money is consumers, oil companies, distilleries, and then farmers. So majority of or large chunk of the money that we're actually giving away is actually going to the intermediates, right? It is going to the oil companies, it is going to the distilleries, and only very less amount is going to the farmers. We are not actually solving the problems, right? The third thing is that we are not solving the problems of what? The farmers. What are the real problems of farmers? The real problems of farmers are post-harvest losses, storage issues, supply chain efficiency. These are the things that are actually troubling the farmers. Without focusing on all of these, we are actually ensuring that we are selling sugarcane. So from that sugarcane, we are benefiting farmers is what the government is saying. That is not at all true, and that is not at all valid, right? So first thing is that farmers are there and they have storage losses, storage problem, supply chain, irrigation, fertilizers. First, you need to solve all of these issues. Only when you solve all of these issues, then you say that we are solving the problems of the farmers. Until and unless you see that there is nothing saying that you're actually solving the problems of farmers. So these are the main three issues that are there when it comes to what you call this particular editorial. Now, what do we do? First thing that we do is we use 2G ethanol. We need to diversify. Instead of using only sugarcane, we can use rice, we can use millets, we can use sorghum, right? We can use all of these. Only when we use all of these, then there will be a better advantage for us to use ethanol. Then that would make sense, right? Because all of the other things that are there, they use less water compared to sugarcane. So we are not even wasting water. So that is one thing. An even better solution is 2G ethanol. Second generation ethanol is nothing but that is used from residue or waste, food waste. It's not actually food. Even the 1G ethanol is sugarcane, rice, sorghum, what you call sweet corn, maize. All of these are what eatables. So you're not using vegetables, you are using what? Residue. In this way, you're not only using something that is not using water, you're also using something that is not food. So that way 2G ethanol is actually better. So that is the first thing. And second thing is obviously you have to build strategic reserves so that you can stay away from things like 2G ethanol. Strategic reserves are actually very important. And third thing is more research. There are many countries that are actually using ethanol. There are many South American countries that are using ethanol, like Brazil. There is Argentina. These are the countries that are actually using E85. Right? They are using E85, meaning that they are doing something, but they do not force on the consumers. Right? They are ensuring that they are producing ethanol, and they are ensuring that the vehicles have the capacity or capability to handle E85. But are we doing that? We are not doing that. We are only ensuring that as we are in a rut, right? We are in a possible rut where we are not able to get oil from other countries or not self-sustained. We are going to use ethanol so that we can put it on the consumers. This is what the government is doing. We should not do this. We should build capabilities. We should do more research. We should do more investment. Only when we do all of this, then there is more capability or more better possibility for a country to have a happy or a better population, right? So that is what this particular editorial is saying. And coming back to the question before we end the particular current affairs session, discuss the causes of judicial delay and suggest the reforms for speedy justice. So in the particular introduction, you would be writing how there is high amount of delay, right? You would be writing about how there are nearly 5.39 crore cases pending across district courts, high courts and Supreme Courts, which would actually deny justice for a lot of people. That's what you'd be writing in the particular introduction. Then you'd be writing the causes of judicial justice delay, right? What are the causes for delay? The causes for delay are: one, vacancies; two, there is high amount of what you call vacations; three, you'd be writing about how there is what you call unnecessary cases, right? Cases that can be solved through alternative dispute resolutions. These are the things that you'll be writing. So you'll write 3 to 4 points in this particular dimension, and then you go to how to reform, right? You say one, staggering the leaves, meaning that you put on rotational leaves, right? Putting on rotational leaves. Then you say that you fill the vacancies. Then you say that you strengthen the alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. And then you say that usage of retired judges under Article 127 and 128, so that we can fill the vacancies, right? And the fifth thing is management through maybe AI technology or some online technology. That is how you manage everything. And then you conclude that these are the things that are there, and we need judiciary judiciary is an important organ, and it's functioning only 190 days a year is not good for a country that is actually growing, and a country with a population of nearly 1.6 billion. It is not good, and we have to ensure that judiciary works at its finest pace and at its finest quality. That is what you'd be writing in the particular conclusion, right? So tell me what you guys would have written in this particular answer. Try to write an answer every day, right? Take a particular editorial, right? Make a question on that particular editorial and write an answer on that. Only when you do these kind of things, then you will be able to understand how to write an answer and what are the things that you need to focus on when it comes to mains, right? So that is all for today's class. Hope you guys have learned a lot. Thank you.